Mr. and Mrs. Rossi, thank you both for your time today. I understand this is a lot of information to absorb today, and I'm here to make sure everything is explained clearly and that you'll feel fully supported through each step of the way. And I hope that you guys are able to comprehend anything. You're more than welcome to ask any questions, but today we'll go over how Kai developed Nf1 and the chances of it being passed on, and how this might impact both Kai's future and your family. We'll also talk about some important ethical considerations around having children in the future. Kai's diagnosis of neurofibromatosis type 1, also known as Nf1, came from a genetic mutation that occurred spontaneously. This means that neither of you as parents had the condition or carried the gene. Nf1 sometimes arises in children when a new mutation happens in the sperm or egg, and that's what happened here. So even though neither of you had Nf1, Kai inherited the condition due to the new change in his genetic material. Now, in this pedigree, we see the first generation and the second generation. We see the father, who is a square since he is male, and the mother, who is a circle, and because she's a female, and they're both connected because they're married, and they go down because they had Kai, and Kai's box is a male, and he is fully shaded in because he is affected by Nf1, and he has Nf1. And you might be questioning of these two males and females. These are the future possibilities of having children in the future of a sister and a brother for Kai. Of course, if you want that in your family, but as you can see, they wouldn't be affected, most likely. And since you two aren't even carriers or anything, the chances of it is really rare that this gene mutation would occur again to a future child. Since this mutation was a spontaneous event, it's very unlikely that it would happen again in future pregnancies, as stated. But statistically, the chance of having another child with Nf1 is very slow, generally less than 1%. Because this mutation doesn't seem to be passed from either of you as parents, if Kai decides to have children in the future, he would not pass on a genetic mutation from either of you. However, there's a very small chance that his own child could inherit a new spontaneous mutation like his, but that's rare. So while the risk is not zero, it's much lower than the risk of inheriting a condition from a parent who's a carrier. And let's say that Kai is married with someone who doesn't have the gene, then this is Kai's, and then this is someone who wouldn't have a gene. The big capital N is representing that the gene is dominant, meaning that it is affected, while the little n's means that it is not present whatsoever. Now, 50% is big N, little n. So that means that 50% of the possible children could be carriers, and generally not saying that they will be affected, but they will have that gene. And then 2 of the other children, which would be 50%, would not be affected. So 50-50 could be carriers, but either way, they wouldn't be affected by it at all. And then let's say Kai does marry someone who has Nf1, then 50% of it would be big N and little n, meaning it is a carrier whatsoever. And then 25% of it would be big N, big N, which meaning it is affected and it is happening. And then 25% is not affected at all. So 75% of it, of the children, would have the gene, but might not be affected by it at all. And then I understand that you may have some questions about the ethical aspects of having children, considering this is a genetic condition. Since Nf1 in Kai's case was a spontaneous mutation, it's unlikely that future children will be affected. But if you do choose to have more children, Genetic counseling can offer more insight on your specific situation, though the risk remains very low. Ultimately, it's a personal decision, and there are resources and support to help you guide your decision in whatever choice you feel is right for you and for your family. And I know this is a lot of information to take in, so I want to give you both time to process and ask any questions, whether you want to know more about genetic counseling, the future of Kai's health, or any concerns you have about family planning. I'm here to support you, and what questions can I help you answer for you today?